Hey everybody! Welcome to episode 27 of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. We are arriving at the, when we last left off, we jumped into Explorer 3, a slightly remodified Duna Explorer, with a lander, and have shipped out towards Duna. And we're currently at the descending node right now. I am getting ready to do a plane change here. Anti-normal. I want to face south, right? That's south? Yeah? Yeah. So we're just going to point ourselves down once our pilot gets stabilized. And we're actually going to work on this here periapsis with some very fine maneuvering. We got our nuclear engines ready to go. They can do all this work for us relatively simply. That is the wrong direction, apparently. Yeah, that's the descending node. That's where we're actually heading from top to bottom, not bottom to top. So I want to go to the ascending node. Of course, our guy has overshot it by 90 degrees. It's okay, we have unlimited power at this point. And just kind of take over this manually. There we go. Okay. So we're trimming up the periapsis on Duna. I want to get a better encounter with this thing. It won't take much at all to fix this. There's the plane done. Now... Now I wonder, what do I need? Orbit normal or orbit anti-normal? Or radial or anti-radial? Let's try anti-radial. And I'm always getting those two confused. Okay, we're facing anti-radial. That is the wrong way because I can see my altitude is increasing. So we'll go radial. Just going to bring this in nice and tight. I want to get at least within Gilly's Ike's orbital radius. So the further away you do this from the planet, the less fuel it takes. It's again that straight line. Like if you have a very long straight line, you can move the tip of the straight line with very little energy at this side. So the longer that line is, the less energy it takes to move that tip. And that's what we're doing right here, is just spending a little bit of our nuclear fuel, or our rocket fuel for the nuclear engine, to get us into a better encounter situation. See, now we're seeing that Duna's gravity is having a slight effect on the trajectory. And once again, we need orbit normal. To get this plane fixed up. And there's an encounter with Ike along the way, which I am not particularly sad about, actually. We'll just take advantage of that when we get there. So this is looking like a pretty good Duna encounter already. We'll go ahead and send you prograde. And fast forward time until we get there. So I'm going to skip this part. We'll actually catch up on camera at the Duna encounter, so hang tight. Alright, our pilot is getting our ship oriented here, or at least trying to. I'm just helping him out a little bit. And we are now in Duna's sphere of influence. There you can see Duna over there. And Ike. So we are now squarely in their sphere of influence. I'm going to zoom over to Duna. And this encounter is looking pretty good just as it is. I might just go ahead and fly by Ike exactly like this. Head out to Ike escape and then, or maybe at Ike encounter, I will trim this up. So I want to be hitting Duna's atmosphere at about 12,000 meters, I think. So I'll fast forward and see you guys at the Ike encounter. Okay, here we are. We are under the gravitational influence of Ike, and we're facing prograde. I want to face anti-radial, which should be towards Ike's surface. Yep. And I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of thrust this way to get ourselves a Duna aero brake at about 12,000 meters. Okay, there we have it. Here we are on a nice glorious flyby of Ike and Duna. Get a crew report from space high over Ike. Transmit that bad boy back. Elnerd Kerman, you engineer, why don't you take a look around? Transmit that back as well. Those aren't worth any contracts, but they are worth some more science. So that got some stuff high over Ike. We've barely touched this fuel tank. And we're set up for an aero braking, so yeah, I'll fast forward time to that aero brake. As we coast majestically by Isaac. As we coast by Ike, we find ourselves on the way to Duna. Duna coming up, where an automated air braking maneuver will slow us down to a, if not an orbit, something approaching an orbit. Okay, we have flown by Ike exactly as expected. We're just getting our ship-oriented prograde. Packing away our sensitive solar panels. And since we're here near Duna, we can actually do some easy science. Grab a crew report. The planet is very red and appears to have deep furrows across the surface. There does appear to be some kind of ice at both poles. Transmit that one back, which should complete one of our contracts for a bunch of funds. Yes, data from space around Duna for the 153,000 funds. Get ourselves tipped over here. Ready for the aero brake. Pressure readings in flight above, in flight below, and in flight above. So, okay. These two we can do because all we need to do is kind of be in the atmosphere. And we can be in the very, very upper atmosphere while we do that. Those can be done by the mothership, actually. We will send the lander pad down to RBCY6. Wherever that one is. So the lander will go for RBCY6. While this one just sort of changes its plane and works on the other ones as it can. We're at 25,000 meters and plunging into the atmosphere, so we should actually be seeing some velocity change here in a little bit. our cockpit lights. Yep, we can see we are bleeding off some speed now as we dip into the atmosphere of Duna. A rocky red surface. While we're here, try and get some more science. Oh, we're in the atmosphere of Duna. Or we're in space near Duna. Observe mystery goo. In space near Duna. This is actually in Duna's upper atmosphere, but whatever. Okay, this is as low as we're going to get in this aero brake. Pretty much. We're at the periapsis now. And there we go. We're climbing back up. We have, in fact, established an orbit. We'll see how much velocity we end up losing on this. This might actually be too deep. And we're coming out of the thickest part of Duna's atmosphere. Our orbit is only changing a little bit, so it looks like this aero brake at about 12,500 meters was just right. Definitely like how that turned out. I will adjust my orbital parameters at the apoapsis once we get there, so I have to wait till we're out in space again. That's going to take a little bit. But I'm at a point now where I can just fast forward time, and I will catch you guys at the apoapsis. Alright, we're about 2 minutes away from the apoapsis, so we're getting ourselves set up for prograde. Come on, pilot. And get ourselves turned correctly here. Using up some battery juice, but that's alright. And we'll get our solar panels re-sent out. Solar panel. And solar panel. And once we get to this apoapsis, we're just going to do a little bit of a quick prograde burn to make our periapsis get up to above 50,000 meters. We'll probably set it at 60,000 meters. Get myself trimmed up so I can have maximum exposure. Just fast forward time a little bit to get to this periapsis, or apoapsis I should say. And throttle up the nuclear engines. 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60,000 meters is good enough for me. We can have an eccentric orbit, that's just fine. In fact, if I actually intentionally mess with my plane, it'll take less energy here to do so than it would at closer to the planet. So what I can actually do is change my plane enough to have an orbit that gets over as I go around. These orbits will actually cross over these points of interest. And that's plenty of a plane change to do that. So now this orbit is actually crossing over points of interest, or at least it will at certain points of the orbit as Duna rotates underneath us. Double check our periapsis at 62,000 meters. That's fine. So what I can do at the periapsis is go retrograde and bring ourselves into a full closed orbit. So just fast forward over here really quick. About like that. We'll go ahead and let our guy get ourselves facing retrograde. And once we're facing the right way, we will light them up. And just bring this apoapsis right down. .63 by 62 is a pretty darn good orbit. Now we're pretty much at a point where we just need to sort of ride this out. I'm going to pause recording or skip recording and fast forward to where I want to do a landing. Which basically means Duna needs to get rotated around a whole bunch. So yeah, hang tight. Okay, right here we are going to go ahead and anti-normal. Fire up the nuclears and get ourselves situated for a flyover and a landing on RBCY 6. Okay, so let's take some more juice because we're closer to the planet, but we have it to spare. That's not a problem. Just bending this orbit around. It takes a little bit of work to get that done. Once we get this over this landing spot, we can actually detach there. So now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to face retrograde. And we'll actually get this guy set up for... So it's gonna, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the main engines to basically put our ship in a landing attitude. And then we'll decouple the lander and then get the ship situated back to where it's ready to get back to the surface. So this is going to be a few quick maneuvers, really. Okay, that's good enough. Now, we don't have a whole lot of time to dick around. Harney, you're the pilot. Please get over to the, whoa, don't kill it. Oh, no. Harney, get your backpack on. Okay, I totally shattered a solar panel. It's floating there in space. Good thing we have two. Lights on, please. Down. Okay, you need to get inside this thing pretty quickly. And board that. Now. T, face prograde. Okay, we'll get you prograde. We're going to decouple the lander. No pilot is on board, but that's okay. We know we're facing the right direction, and now we warm up the engines again. And we leave the lander in the dust. But I have to fly this thing whole. I have to fly this thing manually now. I want. Where am I right now? I'm at 60,000. I need orbit anti-normal to shift this periapsis out more. So using the efficiency of the nuclear engines allows me to keep more thrust, more of the fuel in the lander with this engine that's not quite as efficient as this one, right? Okay, our apoapsis is there now, so we'll go prograde. Get this thing centered. And that is it. So that is going to be it for episode 27. We'll do the landing and the recovery and the return trip all in episode 28. Until then, keep flying and stay shiny. Goodbye!